I do want to move on. Fallon's still kind of involved in this conversation. I want to talk about the goal against. I think where I, noticed it pick up, and this was something, Kling, that I said just in an episode that just came out earlier today about who I was excited to see in this game and why. I said that I was excited to see how Claire Hutton and Lily Johannes did in an overwhelming situation. I feel like they're both so composed. They've both done nothing but great things as far as any of us have ever seen from them. But playing against Japan is the situation to get overwhelmed in. And
it's a beast.
It's a beast. It's literally a beast. And I think what I started noticing on this goal was Claire was chasing because she was outnumbered in the midfield. Lily was recovering defensively, maybe not urgently enough, or maybe not with enough kind of decisiveness. I'm not sure exactly, what was happening, but the nightmare I have in my head of playing against Japan is when you go to pressure somebody and then the space you just left, they make a run in behind and then they play them again. And now you're in a blender and running in circles and you feel silly. And it's just an overload. It's an overload in the midfield. Japan kind of carved that up. Hamano gets the ball out wide, cuts Lily Real. I want you to tell us what you noticed about the goal. But for me, it was, it started really in the midfield, feeling outnumbered. But from an outside back perspective and, maybe what Fallon was doing, what Hamano did that was so great. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, I think I don't remember exactly what led to the turnover. I think it was just a bad pass. But I was watching Japan on this attack rather than watching USA defense, because sometimes it's just nice to be able to focus on the other team. You could learn things about USA. And I feel like I did learn a lot about USA in this moment, because we see a moment of Japan individual brilliance, but I do think that their overall team defending and their willingness to get numbers in the box and completely overwhelm the USA back line led to that moment for the Japanese player to be brilliant. And I mean, the pressing was on point, the quick counterattack, getting in behind, isolating a USA player. All of that was teamwork. It wasn't just individual brilliance. So we might say that goal was individual brilliance, but everything that led up to it was Japan doing what Japan does. Something that was so fun to watch for me, and this is kind of an aside, is if you watch the Japanese player, what was the player that scored?
Micah Hamano.
Hamano, yeah. So if you're watching Hamano and absolutely slices and dices on Real, and I was like, oh, that sucks, but sucks. Also been there. And the part that I was like, wow, this was individually insanely brilliant, was Hamano literally cuts it onto her left foot. And I think Fallon thinks that she's going to try and find a pass because she's looking into the box. So if you actually watch the slow-mo replay back, she cuts Real, gets it on her left foot, and then is looking here instead of at the goal. So you see her actually looking here, and as she shoots, she's still looking here, over here. And so she shoots, and then you see the ball going this way, and then she looks to see. And I'm like, wow, I'm sure Fallon was probably setting, her positioning off what she is seeing. And she's like, oh, she's going to pass. But they're just so good and individually brilliant that you can't ever assume that what they're looking at is what they're going to do.
It's fascinating to hear you say this, because I felt in such sharp contrast tonight. I mean, especially in the first half, it's hard for me to be nobody did well going forward, because I thought that individually there were a couple of great moments. At moments in the first half, I was like, look at Avery Patterson go. She's solving pressure. She's dribbling forward. Avery Patterson is getting great crosses off. Jaden Shaw was creating some chances. Ali Sentnor, like, I love seeing people turn in the pocket. Every time I thought we were going to score in the first half, it was Emma Sears on the ball, crossing it, shooting it, making a run in behind, almost like getting a touch on something. And so I thought individually there were moments to be happy about. But hearing you say what you're saying about Japan, like, they know each other so well, and they are very played in. They are coming off, they just played 6 games in the Asian Cup in March. Like, we have, haven't played that many games yet this year, I don't even think. And so then it's like there is this cohesiveness to their play that we definitely have tonight. And I think when you couple Japan's cohesiveness and just the way they're able to know each other and play as a team with their technical ability and their awareness and their tactical plan and just the way they do it all in flow with one another, we just couldn't match up with that, even with individual brilliance or speed or flair or pressing high. Like, we just didn't have the same cohesion, I don't think.
Yeah, and I was texting you this, and we were talking about it actually during the game, and all of that you said is completely true, and it makes Japan Japan. And as another aside, that I don't think people realize how hard it is to actually play against them. I was telling Sam, I was like, you have to make the perfect pass, like, to be able to score. Like, they make it so hard to play that you have to have the perfect final pass, or you have to have the perfect touch to set up yourself to be able to score. You have to have like the perfect pressing, or they're going to find the space behind you with the right angle. And if you don't, they punish you. They're one of the only teams in the world that can punish you if you're not all on the same page. You're not cohesive, like you're saying. And we saw that tonight. And what you could see is that there's some really good moments for USA, but then they're not, it's not coming off at the end, or the final pass is off, or the touch is off. And if you play other teams, whether it's, Brazil, who's a great team, or Paraguay or Canada, like, all good teams, right? But you don't have to be perfect against Canada. You don't have to be perfect against Brazil. You don't have to be perfect against Paraguay. There are opportunities to have a bad touch and still be able to get the shot off and challenge for a good goal. And you just don't have those opportunities against Japan, whether they have full possession or not, which they didn't tonight. They still make it that hard to play.
Yeah, it's hard to, like, imagine that situation. I'm still seeing a lot of people in the chat just being like, I think basically being like, our performance was unacceptable. We had so much of the ball. We should have, had more of a chance of getting ourselves back into the game. I think the other thing, Kling, and I kind of alluded to this on our goal about the midfield, but it's that idea that Japan is, like, luring you to do something that they want you to do. And so, I mentioned it when I said, I think sometimes we were turning the ball over deep at our own end because we were going backwards into a back press. So Japan is luring you into that. You also were explaining this to me so perfectly during the game, that when Japan has the ball and is making these short, sharp passes, they're luring you to step out. And that's the moment that the ball is passed in behind you and you're turning around going, what just happened? It happened to Sonnet, and Sonnet had to step out. There was a Japanese player in seam 2. She was about to Sonnet thought she was about to receive the ball. So Sonnet has to step. For some reason, we don't have enough numbers there for somebody else to step. And then immediately the ball goes in behind. Sonnet's 1v1 defending in the box, and a great shot goes off. Fallon has to make a save. Japan, yes, they had less possession, but they were tactically, I felt, in control by doing things like that, by manipulating when we were stepping. We saw that in the first game too. I felt at times in the first game, our center backs were stepping at the wrong times. We were getting exposed. The ball played in behind. Tonight, it was just this, like, the smarts of Japan was such a you get pulled out, you get manipulated, you get attracted to going to the ball, and then they're in behind.
It was on display, like, they were showing what makes them so hard to play against and why they've been at the top of the world for years. And sometimes I feel like it gets overlooked. Like we talk about the things that make Japan good. They're very cohesive. They're together. They keep the ball, right? But tactically, they are so sound. Like there's not a better tactical team in the world, in my opinion, than Japan. And you just see it because they make everything so hard to play. They close down angles. If one person steps out, two people are stepping in behind every single time. There was not one moment where the USA was like, oh, we broke them and now we get like a free shot on goal. Like it was always a contested shot. It was always like we have to make another pass or we have to take another touch. Like they're just so well trained. And you can see that training coming out in these big moments. I mean, they're not getting pulled apart when we're playing fast, or they're not getting frustrated or making bad decisions when we're high pressing. And it's just so, I mean, I had such a fun time watching Japan tonight because I don't feel like we get to see a tactical masterclass like that all the time. And I'm pretty sure that's why we booked these 3 games with Japan, was because Emma is like, we need to play against these technical wizards, technical and tactical wizards. And we need to figure out what we're doing really well and where we can improve. And I think these 3 games are 100% showing us that.
Yeah, totally agree.